Hello everyone, thank you for joining today's live. So yesterday I was stopping. I stopped near the WebStorm installation part. So after installing WebStorm, I didn't show you guys how to do that part. So let us do
Hello everyone, thank you for joining
the
today's
development
live.
part. Give me a moment. Yes. So how do we change the font style, the font size, and theme? These are the main things, right? So this is how the WebStorm looks like. I have installed the WebStorm and I chose the dark theme. This dark theme is also known as a Dracula theme. So there is a way where you can change it, the theme to whatever it is. There are few inbuilt themes available and are provided by the WebStorm. So let's look at that one. Just give me a moment so that I can set up everything over here properly. Yes. So okay, let's for example, let us create a simple project. For example, you can only do this once you know the basic stuff. So let's create a folder over here saying that a sample. Okay, sample is enough. And the first thing you need to know after installing WebStorm is that how do you load the folder? How do you load the folder in the WebStorm, right? So let's open up the WebStorm. We say file, open. We saw this one yesterday, so you have the sample over here. So click on that one and OK. So this sample is an empty folder. You can see over here sample is an empty folder. So first thing you need to do is, if you want to execute a HTML file, then the main thing is you need to have a HTML file, right, which can be executed. So let's create a HTML file. Right click, new, and you can see there are a lot of options over here. If it is a normal file, for example, if you are creating some another file, for example C, Java, whatever it is, depending upon the language, it should have its own extension, right? The folder structure which we saw in the in my GitHub account, you saw it over there that every file is having an extension called .html and is sequentially arranged. So here what we'll do is that, see, there are a lot of files over here. HTML file, style sheet is for CSS, JavaScript is for JavaScript, TypeScript, package.json, and all these files each are having their own respective things, they are fixed for their own. So let's go and create a HTML file, as we'll be learning a HTML concept. So we need a name for the file. Don't just write a.html, b.html, and you don't even need to write over here. Let's say that it's our testing file. So we'll go with testing underscore file. It's up to you. If you want to write in this way, then you can write in this way. So everything is not mandatory, it's just optional. It's an easy way for me to understand that this is a testing file. So in order to save this file, you don't need to write .html in the end. Instead, what you can do is that you can select which type of format you want. So HTML5 is the latest format that is being supported by everyone all over the world. Currently, you can go with the HTML4, but all the HTML5 concepts will only be executed if you are having the file in HTML5 format. So we'll go and select the HTML file, though I don't want the full stop of that. So testing underscore file is the name, and create OK. When you see over here, you can see that my font is very less, very small. I want my font to be a big. I just don't want this font. So where you can change, normally if we press on control and scroll it, I'm actually scrolling it at the moment, that will be locked for the WebStorm. You need to unlock that feature, then only you can use it. So in order to increase the font size, there are two types. First thing is, let's go to file. In file, go to settings. In settings, you will find something editor. in this editor you have font. Click on the font, and let's go with the size. I mean, this font over here is good, but if you want a proper font, let's go with the source code pro, which is good looking, along with the size 23, which is proper. I feel that 23 is good enough to read, and you can see the font over here, it's in a readable format. And if you want to unlock this scroll button for zoom in and zoom out, then over here in file and settings you find click on the editor. Where is sorry, in the editor itself you have font. um, Wait, in this, if you click on the editor, sorry, I need to go in the general for that. Yes, in the general there is something called change font size zoom, because that doesn't go in the editor part, it's in the general part. So you need to go over there and then click on this one. Once you're done with it, click on OK, press Ctrl and scroll it up. So it's up to you which font size you want. And now if you want to change the theme, file, again go to the settings, in the editor, color scheme, here you can select whatever background you want. I go with the dark one, so it's up to you. If you want a default one, apply it, okay, and that's a default one. I like Dracula, so I'll go with the Dracula one. It's really good for me this way, but I prefer Dracula though. It's up to you guys. So with this part we need to actually conclude it by yesterday, so we just had a look over here. Now that you know how to create a file and how to import it, how to import a folder, that's all right. Let's go with the today's slides. Let's just not skip the part and close this one. Let me open up this one. Yes, so today, firstly I need to thank you guys for joining my live session today. I know that it's a busy schedule, and because of the power problem that we had yesterday, I had to change the timings from 6 o'clock to 4:30. I hope it's alright with you guys, but I just wish that you guys have a look at this video in future if at all you are busy at this moment. So the first thing will be is the contents. What will be covering in this video? In today's video we'll be covering like 4 basic HTML tags. So the reason why I'm saying 4 HTML tags is because I'm making sure that each and every tag is being explained in detail. I just want you guys to have a proper explanation. You know, if I teach you in a proper way, then only you will understand how to implement these things. If I just skip one after other, then it will cause a problem for you itself, because I haven't explained in detail. That might be the scenario. So let me explain you guys in detail what tags we are going to implement, and we should understand them, how they are being formed, what actually a tag is, and also we'll add few styles for that. Let's start the development process from the beginning itself, and let's start to add styles from the first video of HTML itself, so that that will become a habit for you in the future videos. You don't have to wait for adding styles, creating a website that's just black and white. It's boring. Let's start by adding styles from the beginning itself and make this session more interesting. So the first main thing, what is HTML? Obviously, right? Whenever you start learning a new language, you need to know what that is and what it stands for. So what is HTML? HTML stands for hypertext markup language, and it's basically like the, what do we say, skeleton for the human body. So it's like only if you have a proper skeleton, then only you can apply the styles. If there is a proper human body, then only you can apply the color, skin color, or hair, or whatever it is, eyes, nose. the alignment, where it should be, on the center, on the left, on the right. Everything will be happening only if you have a proper body. If you don't have body, then you cannot apply any styles for it. It's just like a building. You don't directly start with the interior until and unless you have a building, right? You need to start with the basement, then construct the pillars. I'm sorry, I'm giving a lot of civil engineering examples. It's just because you can actually see the buildings being constructed outside, but we don't get to see the machinery construction anywhere or any other kind of constructions. So I'm just giving a example which is commonly been seen on the roads. So whenever you see a building being constructed, you see that first the basement will be constructed, then the pillars, then they will go with the first floor, staircases, and then so on. So it's like you need to have a basement, or else without a proper basement, how can you add all these things? Only if you construct a proper building, then only you can go and plan for your interiors or the color of the building or whatever it is. You do that only if you have a building, right? So it's the same thing. It's just like a building, and the extension of HTML file is .html. So you save the file with the .html at the end. What will we write? We don't actually type in the computer. For example, let me open up the notepad. So we don't say to this, for example, assume this is my HTML page. Assume this is my HTML page. I don't type in this way like I want image on top right and video on bottom left. We don't type in that way. Browser doesn't understand this at all. It's like you will have a tag. Tag is nothing but if you want to print something onto the screen, if you want to print image onto the screen, there is a tag associated with image. If you want to print a video on the screen, there is a tag associated with that, and so on. Everything. The only reason I'm just giving a video and image as example because everyone are familiar with the Instagram. So we see that if we take Instagram as an example, we see the post. There will be a border around the post, and whatever content is there, either if it is a photo or a video, that will be within that border itself. It will not come outside the border. So that's the main content which I'm being focusing on. So you will understand that in order to display an element or a particular thing on a web page or a website, you need to use a tag. So how are they defined? Depending upon which element you are trying to display. For example, if it's an image is an element. If it's a heading or a paragraph, each and everything are like a small elements. And we remember, right, we had 50 plus tags in HTML, but we'll just learn around 25 tags because it's enough for us to construct a good website with these 25 tags. And if you want to have a future reference, if you want to build more amazing website, then you are free to have access to all the documentation part, and you can learn the other 25 concepts by your own. It's easy to learn, but they are not mainly used, but they are still there. You can still use them if you want. So you don't need to remember the 50 plus tags because there are so many tags. You just have a blueprint, have a proper blueprint, and assume that I need this to be here and that to be there. That's it. And everything associated with tag will have its styles, and depending upon which style you want to apply for that, you do it. So can there be a simple method to understand them? Yes, there is a simple method to understand them because the tag name, it's either as mentioned in a shortcut format or it's either mentioned in another way. For example, if you are trying to print out an image onto a screen, then there is a tag called img. So it's easy to understand, right? Img stands for image. So why do you think I'm writing them inside the braces, in this angle braces? Why am I writing the name of the tag inside this? Because the browser understands that whatever is placed within the open angle bracket and close the angle bracket. Whatever is written in between that, it will search for the element which you are trying to display. It can be the image, it can be the title, it can be heading, paragraph, whatever it is. It will search for which element you are trying to display it onto the screen. And then you you might be familiar with other languages, right? You might be familiar with C++, Java, or whatever language it is. For example, if you're trying to write a main function over there, what you do, you open the braces and close the braces and write all the information here. So you close the braces and open the braces and write all the information over here. But you don't have this format for this HTML. Why? Because HTML is designed in such a way that rather than using the open braces and close braces, they said that if there is a tag, okay, let's just go with the image tag itself. If I'm opening a image tag, or let's say the better I will say that, okay, let's say I'm going to print a paragraph. uh, so paragraph tag will be associated with a tag name called as a P. So if at all I'm opening a paragraph, the only reason I'm not considering image tag because there are few other things which you need to look for. So for now, let's assume that it's like open braces. You need to type something, some information over here, and if you want to close this paragraph tag, you write the same P, but you write a forward slash over there, stating that the words or whatever it's written in between this two P, open P tag and close P tag, this is considered as a single paragraph. So this is what the HTML has been programmed as. So whatever I write within this open tag and this close tag is considered as a part, a content or context of that element. So if it's an image or is associated with any other things, then it will be its own content. So now that you know that rather than using this open and close curly braces, we are having open P tag and a close P tag. So now that you know there is no need of braces, let's jump on to the next topic. You know that what tag is, right? Associated to which element you want to print on the screen, there is a tag built for it. So why do we need to write tags? As I said before, we just don't write. Okay, give me a moment, the voice is low. Is it audible now? It's just that I lowered the voice so there will be no disturbance over there. So let's continue with this one. Oops, sorry. Not this one. Yeah. So the browser just understands the HTML language alone. That's the only reason you need to print whatever information you wanted to. You need to do that in the form of the tags itself. The only thing is you need to use them properly. If there is any error in that, for example, you know that to print a paragraph tag that we discussed here, we say that we are using something called as a P, but instead of P you write something as G. The browser doesn't recognize because it isn't programmed in such a way. It's just programmed so that you just write a paragraph with the help of P tag alone. Okay, keeping these things aside, now that you know why do we need to write a tags, because browser just understands few languages and HTML is a part of that. So we need to make sure we write in such a language that browser understands and even we understand. Next, how do you instruct browser to display information on the web page? So it's obvious, right? We need to talk to a person in the language he knows. For example, if he knows Hindi and if you don't know Hindi apart from English, how can you communicate with them? So you need to make sure there is something or someone who can translate it from your part to their part. So browser just understands few languages. It doesn't understand the language we speak. So what we do is, whatever information we want to print it onto the browser, we print that using the format, using the language which the browser understands. So it's our responsibility, it's your responsibility as a UI developers, that you need to display all the elements onto the screen that are being asked by the clients. You need to print all those things onto the screen with the help of tags. So is there any structure? Yes. You just can't type tags. See, you know that if I write img, image will be displayed. If I write p, paragraph will be displayed. But you can't say that img on the left side and p on the right side. There are some rules and regulations, right? Like the open braces and close braces in other languages. There is some rules and regulations for each and every tag, and you need to follow those rules and regulations for sure. If you don't follow those things, then browser will just ignore it, or that might even crash your application or the website that you're going to develop. We need, as our part as a developers, we need to make sure we doesn't do such a mistake. Now the next part is the HTML structure. We can see that, let's take an example of a human body itself. What we feel is that, what everyone feel is that the body is divided into two parts, head and the other rest of the body. The reason I'm saying that human body is divided into two parts, it's because head sends all the signals, all the performance, but you say that with the help of legs I'm able to walk, but you don't say that with the help of the signals sent by the head I'm able to walk. So you give credits for the body parts but not to the head, right? So it goes like that. So the body is divided into two parts, head and body, and let's look at the head. In the head section we represent using the tag head. So now that you know that whatever we write between the open angle brackets and close angle brackets, that is considered as a tag name until and unless it has been officially declared as a tag. If you write your name within the open angular braces and close angular braces, it isn't considered as a tag. For example, here head is considered as a tag, whereas jobless developer is not a tag. That's what. So it should be officially declared as a tag, then only you can do this one. Hi, thanks for coming online, thanks for joining live as well. So what does the head section contain? The head section contains all the configuration information as in what type of language should be displayed onto the website, or from where you're trying to get the styles, what will be title of the web page, and so on, how to add the JavaScript files onto this page, and so on. All these things will be explained in detail once when we start a CSS and JavaScript. We will even discuss it in today's class so that we can start the development process right from today itself. It will be an amazing topics for today though. And the next comes the body section. So in this body section, all the elements that are to be displayed on the screen are mentioned over here. So let's take a sample website. For example, let's go with the Wikipedia itself, and let's go with website itself, what a website is. Okay, so in this website, let's go with the topic wise. Body section, right? Body section. Once look in this website, analyze it, and unleash your inner Sherlock Holmes and find out what all things that you you can see over here, right? Just imagine. For me, what I can see over here is that there is a proper heading over here, there is an image over here, there is another image over here, there is a paragraph over here, there is a box with some different color over there. Okay, let's go back again. I clicked on some link. So the font colors, it's bold over here, it's black but still bold, non-bold. You can see the links over here, you can see a small box, all these things, right? So you can find out these basic things just in this page. So in order to display these things onto the page, if you want to display this image onto the page, you need to tell to the browser that I want to display this image over here. And how do you put that over there? It depends upon the styles. Printing image onto the screen is the HTML part. Moving that left, right, top, bottom, having a rounded borders or a shadow, whatever it is, it's done with the help of CSS. So this is what we learn. From today on, let's start by doing this thing, and we will get to see much more in future. I hope you guys don't get confused with the topics that are being taught today. They might be a little bit tough because I'm starting the CSS from today itself, so that it will be a bit of interesting thing, and at the same time you get to learn a lot itself. So let's go on to the next side. Now that you know, if only we mention in that, so okay, let's try to create a first project. It's simple, right? Everyone says that let's start with welcome world or hello world program. So I feel like goodbye world is my way, so that I'll say that goodbye world, I'm just leaving you and I'm entering the development part from today on. So yes, thanks. Let's create a file called goodbye underscore world dot html, the way we saw before. So we'll just delete this one, delete it. I just pressed on the delete button, and then right click on this one folder. I'll say new HTML file. Let's say goodbye underscore world. Nice. When I type this one and when I created a file, you can see over here that there is few built-in code, right? There is inbuilt code and you don't know what each and everything is. Let's open and see our slides. What's the next thing? So it's saying that print out goodbye onto the screen. Okay, it's saying us to print out goodbye onto the screen. So what we do is, okay, don't worry guys, I'll make sure to do this. There is one inbuilt feature provided by WebStorm. This is the main reason why I asked you guys to go with the WebStorm. If you see over here, just move the cursor on the top right and you can see the list of browsers. If you want the output in Google Chrome, which I generally prefer, click on that one and directly the output will be displayed. Or else there is another way. Right click over here, open in browser and choose the browser which you want. It's as simple as it is. You don't need to go click on the file again, open it in another page or another file. It's a big of hectic work and we need to be faster and do all the development so fast we don't need to wait time to reload the page. Yes, regarding the live server that I explained yesterday, I said, right, you don't need to save the file all the time, you don't need to execute it, refresh the page. I'll explain you guys about that thing tomorrow or day after tomorrow, depending upon the topics which we are going to cover. But for today, we see that this is the input of the page. There is nothing but here I'll write the piece of code and this is the output of the page. Then yes, the first thing which you get is, you are saying that we need to print goodbye world onto the screen. That's all right, that's amazing. I'll print the goodbye world onto the screen. But how do I print the goodbye world onto the screen? There is something different, right? Nothing has been displayed. It's just because, as I said before, there is no curly brackets, and whatever you type within the body tag, that will be displayed onto the screen. But you can see that the body tag has been opened over here and the body tag has been closed over here. there is nothing written in between these two things, right? You need to write something in order to display onto the screen. I say goodbye world. Okay, let's save the file. To save the file, you can either go file, save as, or else control S, press control and S, it will be saved. And if you come back onto the browser, you can see there is no output at all. It's because you need to refresh the browser to see the output. You can either click this button or press F5. Now that I have a text written over here, the browser takes that as a text and prints goodbye world onto the screen. That's amazing. I just don't want the smiley over here. Let's give an explanatory mark, save it, refresh it. Voila, there you go, it's done. So now that you know how to print a message onto the screen, let's go and look into the presentation. I guess I need to make sure I prepare for this one. I wrote down everything over here, but I didn't prepare for this. Okay, now that you know how to print, you can only print if it is within the body tag. Oh, where did that website go? Yes, if it is only within the body tag. See, if I'm pressing enter, it doesn't mean that it will print enter onto the screen as well. Let me save it, let me refresh it. It doesn't change even an inch. So it means that only if you type anything, then only it will display. That doesn't mean that whatever you type over here will be displayed. It will be displayed as usual, but if you want to display image or video, it will have a tag. The only thing is that the normal text, you don't need to have a tag until unless you want to give it a style or whatever it is. Let's leave this thing for now. Let's go, don't go into this thing for in detail. Yes, this is the code that you saw in the beginning, right? It came something like this. Let's go back, let's revert it back. And for the viewers who came online just now, in order to create a file, just click on the folder over here in which you want to create a file, right click, new, and then go with the file which you want to go. I'll say welcome back, and then you get a welcome back page. See, these two things are different. Let's close this, and yes, let's just delete this welcome back. Oops. Okay, so this is the same code that has been displayed over here. Let's get to know each and every line in detail. Only if we understand everything in detail, then only we will know what the page is for and what the main contents are. The first thing, I explained about this thing to you guys, that what is a tag, and there is something called opening tag and a closing tag. And the difference between the opening tag and closing tag is that the forward slash, you don't need these braces because it isn't a programming language, it's a scripting language. But still, they designed HTML in such a way that you don't need to use this one, use this instead of that. So if you use the braces, it will be considered as a normal text, the one which we wrote before, like the goodbye world. It will be considered as that one, no use. So every tag has an attribute. Guys, just imagine in this way. Let's take the Wikipedia website itself. Every tag is having an attribute. What does this mean? See, the image over here, I'm just explaining with only one thing so that you guys can assume it whatever it can be. You can see that the image is rectangle in shape. What if I want the border of the image not to be rectangle, but I want that to be in circle? Or else, what if I want a shadow dropping by the image? These things come as an attributes. I see the image is located on the right side of the screen, but what if I want it on the left side? What if I want it on the top? What if I want it on the bottom? Aligning the image in different place is also considered as an attribute. So there are so many attributes associated. For example, if you look at the font over here, font is just normal over here, whereas, let me zoom a bit. So oops, sorry. Okay, let's take this one itself. The font over here is italic, the font over here is just normal, the color is blue over here, you have an underline, so it matters, right? Everything matters. It's just a font, but we are just adding styles to the font. How do you add styles to the font? Depending upon the tags, its respective tags. If it is a bold, go and search for the bold tag. I want the word to be in bold. If I don't want the word to be in bold, leave it as it is. We saw in the goodbye word, it's displayed in the normal font but not in the bold. Leaving that aside, now we know that every tag has an attribute. That's the reason I said you guys not to remember all the tags, because let's assume every tag is having 3 unique attributes and there are 50 plus tags. So 50 times 3 is 150. You don't have time to remember all these 150 things, right? It's better to just remember that there is attributes associated to it, and if I Google those attributes, I get a list of attributes and I can use them. Don't go on learning everything. Just know that you have Google and you don't need to use and become your brain so much and become stressed as well. Development is a bit easy, and once you understand this basic stuff, everything will be easy for you. The first thing you get in a mind is what is an attribute, and we took a image tag, we analyzed it, that aligning it on the left side, center, right side of the page, having a rounded border, rectangle border, whatever it is, having a margins or whatever it is, shadow, all these things come under the attributes. See, shape, size, color, filters, animations, all these things come under the attributes. The first thing we need to look is, now that we know every tag is having an attribute, I will tell you why I said about the attributes, because there is something you need to look at first. Okay, let me zoom it a more. Okay, yes, the first line, doc type HTML, it's telling the browser, let me go over here itself, it tells the browser that the document which you are looking at currently is a HTML document. So all the things that are written below it, all the tags that are written below it, are associated with HTML tags alone. So if you find anything with a P, or if you find anything with a head, then don't get confused, it's a HTML tag. So this is what being explained to the browser. Then browser will follow all the things that we write below it. That's a different matter, but still this document doc type HTML tag, it tells the browser that this is a HTML file. And in HTML4 and XHTML versions, you see, when we were creating a file over here, HTML file, we have the other file versions, right? Apart from HTML5, in this HTML5, what they did was, this doc type HTML line was a big line. They cut short that line and made it this small. So this is what they did, and that's what a doc type HTML is. It tells the browser that the document which is there below, everything is a HTML document, right? That's a nice thing. Let's go. What is this HTML? See, I explained you, right? This is a opening tag. This HTML without a forward slash is an opening tag, and this is a closing tag. And if you're confused between what an opening tag is and what a closing tag is, let me give you an example. For example, this is my website, okay, and I will say that I want my paragraph to start from top. Okay, I want my paragraph to start here and my paragraph to end here with 3 lines. So 3 lines paragraph. I am saying that I want a 3 lines paragraph over here. I want a big heading here. I want a small ending from here to here as a subtitle, and then some more information paragraph here. So it's like I'm saying I want this information from to start from this place and end at this place. How do you say Normally in a programming language we say that whenever we open a function braces and close the braces, whatever we write within these two things are associated to that function alone, to the function that we write. But here you don't have braces, so you say that whatever I write between the opening tag and the close tag, whatever information that I write here, all should be for based on this tag itself. So what I'm saying is that from here to here, from the opening HTML to the close HTML, my HTML page is there, and whatever is there within this are associated to this page alone. It is not dependent upon other page until and unless you mention that I am taking the properties from different page and using it over here. Until that time, the HTML document will be a separate document. It will not take any other, I mean it will not take any information from any other page until and unless you mention it over there. I hope you guys understood so far. Just I'm saying this in detail so that you get to understand what a HTML tag is. If only you understand the difference between opening tag and a closing tag and the scope. See, if I, for example, if I say that in this page I want like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, I want 8 images in my website. If I say I want 8 images in my website, then that means that if I open my HTML tag and if you see my close HTML tag, as you see this is my output. I have 8 images, so you will be for sure seeing looking at 8 images tags times 8. So it means that you find image tags like 8 times, like img. So you find 8 tags. I just did 3, but you will find 8. It's because the more number of times you use the image tag, that many times you get the image displayed onto the screen. So it means that this whole thing is for one website alone. And this lang en, what does that stand for? So this is called as an attribute. This is the reason why I explained that every tag is having its own attribute. If an image you want to display it onto the screen, if you want the width to be 300 and height to be 100 for say whatever it is in the pixels or inches or centimeters or millimeters, whatever it is, if you want that to be displayed like that, so then beside the image tag you will write width equals to and height equals to, because they are the attributes. Attributes alone can be written beside these tags, and the attributes that are for this tag itself can be written beside it. You cannot write language equals to en for image tag, because this attribute is just for the HTML tag alone. So language equals to en is optional. What this thing states is that the document whatever is there is having English language. If it is any other language, you have the code for the respective language. If it's Mandarin, go with that one. If it's Japanese, go with that one, and so on. Depending upon the language, you can change this thing, but for now it's not even necessary as well, because by default it's in English language itself. And next we saw that the HTML is divided into two parts. Where is that one? Here. It's divided into two parts, head section and body section. So let's go back to our slide again. Yes, head section. Head section stores all the information regarding the styles, configuration, and so on. All the basic things that aren't displayed on the screen. They aren't displayed on the screen, but you know that these things are important. The head is mainly for the configuration and the styles. If you want to add styles, then this plays an important role. But you can look over here that this is a HTML page, it is divided into two parts. Easy to understand, right? Head is a separate part, and a body is a separate part. These two things together form a website. Now that we know these two things form a website, let's go and explain these tags in details. So this head tag, opening and closing of the head tag, that it means that this is the scope of the head. So whatever is within this head tag is either based on the configuration part or the styling part or the title. These three things are the only things that are being mentioned in the head part. So let's look at the line after this. So whatever you write related to the configuration or the styles, everything should be mentioned between the head opening tag and head closing tag. Let's go on to the next one. It's called meta character set. So it is saying that whatever character set that you are displaying onto the page, it is a universally accepted one. UTF-8 character set is for English, that is to be displayed onto the screen. So this UTF meta character set is an optional line. Even if you don't write, browser will by default analyze this page as meta character set UTF-8. So you don't need to write this one, as WebStorm is automatically providing it for us. Why don't we take it? It's a free to use, right? They are freely providing all these lines of code. Then let's use that one. It's no stress for us and easy to implement. Next comes the title tag. So let's tweak the title a bit. So let's try that. Enter some title, right? For that to execute, let's remove these things so that there won't be any problem, right? So it was like this earlier. Let's save this file using Ctrl S and open it up in the browser. Empty, because the file is empty, and you can see I'm saying that the title of this page is having a name called title, and over here you can see that the name of the page is title. You don't believe me? Then what we do is, let's click on jobless developer, save it, go over there. Obviously it will not take effort until unless you reload it, and you see jobless developer. So the title tag is, as the name suggests, it's there to print the title of the page. So if you it depends upon which page. Let's go and look at, for example, the company, the website which I showed yesterday. You see every page will have its own tag. Here they haven't configured it over here, but you can still see that it's the same tag there for the whole website. But if you want each and every simple tag, you want a tag for example, if you're creating a website with about us page, then you make sure you have your company name over here and a hyphen about us. The same goes with all the other things. So it depends upon the page title, because you need to make sure the users understand that this page is separate compared to that which you saw before. If the animations, if the styles, if the graphics are still the same, but there is a small difference in the file, the users will not understand until and unless there is something different, right? If your home page looks the same way as your about us page looks like, then what's the difference between those two? The users often get confused. If you either change the name of the title, people will understand that they at least came to a different page. So that's a simple way to get it. Just change the title. Okay, now that you know about the title tag, let's go with the other one, the body section. We saw it earlier, right? Whatever we write within the body section prints onto the body section until and unless the syntax is correct. What we typed before was just a text. So for writing just a text, if you want to just display it as a testing purpose, just type whatever thing you want between the body tag. But if you want to build a proper website, don't type like that. Type with the help of a proper tag, so that if you want to give it a proper styles, then you can give it, like for example, if I say mm, oh, where is this? Oh, yes. If I take this website Wikipedia, and if you can see over here, even if the font is italic, even if the font is normal, even if the font is bold or in a link, the font size is same throughout the page. It's the same thing, right? The paragraphs, it means that you can create a proper style. You can say this website that this website should print the font in 18 pixels. For example, if we assume that this is in 18 pixels size, if it's in that size, we can say that I want all the paragraph tags should have this size. If I say that in a single statement, if I say that in a single line, that's amazing. If you want to add a style, make sure whatever thing you try to display it onto the screen, you display it with a proper tag, or else, you know, right, you cannot add styles to that until unless it is having a tag. Now that you know what a title tag is, what a body tag is, you know that without this body tag you cannot print anything onto the screen. And yes, so how do you check the output? It's obvious, right? Open up in the functionality over here. I explained like 3-4 things at the same time without looking at the output over there. We go over here, or we right click and we open it in the browser. So these two things does the same purpose. So if you want to look at the output of the screen, here it is, because there is nothing provided between the body tag. Obviously make sure that whatever you write within here will be displayed over here, but it should be in a proper tag. Let's discuss about that in detail later on. See, that was the earlier scenario where what if I didn't type this one, obviously that you don't see anything on the page. This is what I'm been trying to explain, but I explained it soon. Oh my god, so this is empty as it is. Okay, let's go with the tags. I'll leave that page aside. Make sure, I mean, forget that I opened that page, I opened that slide earlier. Just make sure you ignore it. I don't want to know about that one again. I'm just blabbering about it. Okay, the first tag what we'll be learning is that is a heading tag. Okay, before doing that, now you know how to create a folder, how to import that folder onto the screen. And yesterday we created a workspace and we put our file over here. So we'll open that folder, the one which we downloaded. I gave the link in the description. You can download the HTML5 course master. So that's in the D drive, right? In the D drive, if I open the full stack development live, in the HTML, click on the completed files, because we are working on completed files for now. We are not working on the files. And this window, click on this window, and you can see all the files are over here. And also you guys saw the interesting part, right? These are all having the code embedded in it. You just need to start working on it. So if you are working parallelly with me, then feel free to open up the folder now. I'll be waiting for like 15 seconds. Once I wait for 15 seconds, let's start working on this one, or else I'll keep on explaining what that is. The first file, the tags which we'll be looking for today is heading tag, paragraph tag, div tag and span tag. First 4 tags. We will know about those things in detail. Only if we know about them in detail, we'll understand what those tags are and what those attributes are there for. The first thing is HTML headings. Double click on that one and you can see a proper thing. Click on the browser icon over here. It will open it with the proper title tag. The title tag states HTML heading. Let's minimize this one. That's all right. Let's start working on it. This zoom is enough. So what is it? When we look in the Wikipedia page, when we look at the Wikipedia page, there is a heading over here. It's a good font, right? It's a bigger font. And if you look at the heading over here, it's in a smaller font compared to this one. And let's look at any other things. That's it. They just used two headings in this website, so you can see that this heading is having a bigger size compared to that of this heading, but these two are still considered as a heading. So heading is nothing but, I don't need to explain these things, right? Okay, you know that in order to print this heading we need a tag. There is a tag embedded to it, but in order to display that heading tag, you just can't type heading. Oh, and there is another feature for the WebStorm. You don't need to write the close tag, it will directly write it for you, or else there is something I want to explain it so that it will be easy for you. If you are writing some tag, for example, I'm just explaining about heading, right? Type heading and click on tab. If you click on tab button, it will create the whole thing for you, and just type writing whatever it is. Piece of code, easy, right? So the heading tab, the tags for the heading are not heading, but they are like this: h1 for heading. And for example, if we try to print jobless developer, save the file, open the browser, refresh it, and you can see that there is a heading that is being displayed onto the screen. So how did you do that? Just we write h1, and along with this h1 there are a few more things. What? There is something in the comment section that is provided above, that there is something from h1 to h6, and that's right. The heading tags, this heading tag is big compared to this heading tag. How can you give the difference? The developers of HTML had thought of this and said that, okay, let me create a h2 tag and see what that is. So they created another tag with h2. Save this file, refresh it over here, and you can see that there is a size difference between h1 and h2 over here. That's nice. It means that h1 will be the biggest heading and h6 will be the smallest heading. So let's try to implement that one. h3, okay, let's leave it as it is. h4. So here I'm clicking on the tab button. That's the main reason why it is completing the tag for me. h6. Let's save this one and refresh it, and you can see that the size of the heading varies from the bigger to the smaller one, but there is just h6, there is no h7. If you want to type it h7, see, it prints like a normal text. It is not like a, what do we say, the heading. It's because, how can you say that it's not a heading and this is just like a normal text? Because the headings will be displayed in a bolder format. It will be bold, it will not be a normal text. It means that there is only the code syntax available from h1 to h6. So this is how you write a piece of code. So you say that if I want to print a heading tag, I will do that with the help of h1. So whatever I write within this open h1 and close h1 is considered as a heading. So I want the jobless developer to be my heading. So what I do is I will write jobless developer between this open h1 tag and close h1 tag, because this jobless developer is the context. It is not the attribute. Attribute is nothing but I want jobless developer to be blue in color, or I want jobless developer to have a different font style. I want jobless developer name to be at the center of the screen. Those things come under attributes. But the content that is being displayed onto the screen, it is not considered as um, thank you. It is not considered as an attribute, but it is considered as a content. Now that you know how to print the HTML heading onto the screen, let's choose heading tag which will be good with the UI. Yes, this is the main thing you need to understand it, guys. For example, if H1 doesn't suit properly to your website, then go with H2. Do not compromise on the development part. If you are going with the H1 and if your website doesn't look good with the H1, then it means that you are practically destroying your creativity skills. Go with H2. Make sure you develop a proper good website, and there will be no one to go against your creativity. Just go with a good UI. Make sure you use a proper heading tag. But there might be some other thing you need to understand. My heading is of this size. Is my heading limited to this size alone? No. If you want to increase the size, then that is an attribute. So all the attributes are done with the help of CSS. Go with the CSS, say that I want my size to be 50 pixels. It will increase double or triple depending upon the size which is being displayed over here. That's it. So it's as simple as it is. Once you know the basic concepts, then it is a piece of cake for you to just tweak these things, right? So now that you know what a heading tag is and how to implement the heading tag, let's go with the queries. I would like to know if you guys have any queries so far. So far what we learned is that how to get a file onto this WebStorm, how to print out the outputs, what a heading tag is, what a HTML tag is, what a body tag is, what is head tag, what is title tag. These are the basic things that we had a look so far. So if you have any queries, then please do let me know. And after I cover each and every topic, I will make sure I display this slide, any queries. So if you have any queries, then please let me know at that time, because I will be looking at the comments only if this slide comes. Until the next time this slide comes, I will not look at the comments. Thanks for your support, guys. I'll make sure to include all these things, all the positive comments. Yes, sure. So now that you know these things, you need to also understand that there are few WebStorm shortcuts. Obviously, Control S for save, and if you don't know about this one, then make sure remember that Control S is for save. I don't go always file and save button. I'll go with Control S. So what is a duplicate file? For example, let me remove this one. If there is a H1 tag with a jobless developer over here, I want like 10 H1 tags with the same jobless developer. I just click on that line, I'll say that Control D, and there you go, duplicate. How many ever times you want, duplicate it. If you want to duplicate these many things, select that much and press Control D. You get it that many times. Easy, right? When you have these kind of features, it will be easy to implement. So you need to know about the shortcuts, because you don't copy it, paste it, it's a waste of time. I feel it's a waste of time when you have all these functionalities and shortcuts. Let's go on with that. It's just because I'm telling it beforehand, because whenever I try to duplicate it, if I forget that I'm clicking on Control and D, make sure you understand that I'm clicking on Control and D. And tab button, we even saw it this one, right? Tab everything. If I'm printing H6, write H6 and click on tab, it will complete it for me. So it will complete the tag for me. I don't need to write H6 and close H6 again. So it will do that for me. It's an easy way. That's the main reason why I said, even if it is limited for 30 days, make sure you download the WebStorm once, uninstall it, and again install it again. Don't worry about the website versions and all those things. It will be easily tampered. So you can do that by yourself. Or else if you didn't get any cracked file, then send us an email. we'll send you a technique, or else we'll send you our drive link. You can download the crack file from there. Make sure I'm not promoting the crack file, but still, if you need a full version, then I'll be happy to provide you guys with. So we already did, and we implemented the first file as well. See, this is what I'm doing. I'm like explaining you guys beforehand itself. After that, okay, let's go and work on the second file. Now that we know how to display heading tags, we'll go try to display the paragraph tags. Okay, the second file is paragraph. So let me open this up in the browser, and you can see that the title of this page is HTML paragraphs. So it's saying that, okay, as the name suggests, paragraph tag is used to print out paragraphs on the website. This is the basic thing. Don't worry about this thing. But how do you represent the paragraph tag? Using a P. So you see that from the opening paragraph tag to the close paragraph tag, whatever I write in between, it will be considered as a paragraph. Okay, let's do that. Right, let's click on P and tab button in order to complete the paragraph one. So let's just give an enter, proper spacing here, and let's write some information. So this is how we write an information, right? It's easy way to write an information, and let's save this. Control S. I'll not say it again because control, and you see paragraph is on the screen. But this paragraph doesn't look good, right? If it's properly written in an English format or any other format, it should be structured properly. This doesn't look like a paragraph to me. It's boring. So what I do is, there is one functionality provided by the WebStorm, that is, for example, if I want to print a paragraph with the 10 words as the character length, I'll say lorem 10 and click on tab. You get a paragraph with 10 words. Let's refresh it over here. It's looking good. It's looking like a proper paragraph. So let's create another paragraph tag saying lorem, and I want the number of words to be 20 now. 20 tab. Save the file, refresh the page, you get a proper 20 length paragraph. Okay, let's go with 100 words. Write a p tag with lorem 100, save the file, refresh it. Nice, right? It's look like a proper paragraph now. So this is how you try to implement it. So far you learned a new thing called lorem, and I'm sorry with this way of writing a comment. This is how you write a comment, and whatever you write it in between these two things is considered as a comment. Lorem, and beside this lorem, words length, it can be maximum of 1000. That's it. It cannot go above 1000. So this is how you write a paragraph. So what we do is, we try to implement the two techniques that we learned so far. We see the maximum is 1k words. Now, okay, before I go on with the queries part, I will go with the main thing. This is just an example, the one which I shown before. This is just so that you will understand how to print a paragraph onto the screen. But for our exercise, that is not the thing which we want. If it is a paragraph tag, in this file I will implement both heading tag and a paragraph tag. I want it to be in like that. I need to make sure I am implementing the concepts that I learned earlier as well. It's not like learning once and not using it again in the website. So the first thing what I do is, as I know, so for example, every time I forget to put the contents page onto the screen, let's try to print out the contents. Let me think in this way. Whenever you try to create a website, you need to have a blueprint, right? Let's try to create a blueprint. What's wrong in that? So I'll say that I'll have a website over here. In that website, I need a big heading, saying contents, and small heading HTML, with a paragraph about HTML, another heading, side heading with CSS, paragraph about CSS, and so on. So this is simple, right? It's a basic thing that is in a combination of headings and paragraphs. Let's go and try to print out this one. So in order to print out the bigger heading file, what we do, the biggest length is h1, and tab what it is, we'll say contents of this course. Okay, and next I want to print out a smaller heading, h2 tab. So what it is, first thing will be HTML, and I want a paragraph about HTML, so I'll say lorem 50 tab, control S. Let's save it and let's open it up over here, refresh. Nice, right? It looks properly like the contents, but of this course is like too much, so let's remove this one. Contents, so HTML, it doesn't look like a proper paragraph yet, so I just want more things. Let's just copy these two things, control D, control D, just change this to CSS, change this to right. So you get to implement the shortcuts here over here as well. Now you see it's properly implemented. So with this we implemented both the concepts of heading and paragraphs. The only reason, see, the outputs here is like just black and white in color. It's boring, right? That's the reason I said from today on let's try to implement the style as well. So let's try to implement the first style. So for now I'll go with the queries page. Okay, oh sorry for that. Okay, so for now please do let me know if you have any queries. If you have any queries, then I'll be able to solve it at the moment itself. If you don't have any queries, then I'll jump on to the next topic. I guess there is no queries so far, so what I will do is I will start implementing few CSS styles. I'll add few colors for the background color and the font color. Let's try to tweak the page a bit. So rather than this boring black and white page, let's make it colorful. Then only it will be good, right? If we don't make it colorful, then it's boring. It's still boring. So I will skip this slide for now. So it's like I said that we'll create a h1 with a full stack development course, HTML with some information. So it's saying that okay, let's follow this one. Let's skip this. I said h1 with a full stack development course, so we'll go with that one, full stack development course. I'm going it in a faster pace now, so that it's the same concept that you have learned just now, but I'm just renaming the files. So it's saying that the second word, the second heading should be HTML, that too in h2, that's there. CSS JavaScript, that's there. CSS JavaScript, these three things are in h2 itself. It's saying that I need a 40 length word paragraph, that is 2 times. Okay, so it's saying that lorem 40, and to duplicate it, control D again, you get it. Copying, you know, right? The copy is control C. I'll copy this and I will just remove this one. Oops, the whole thing has gone. What you guys do is you just pause this video for a minute and try to implement what I'm trying to implement. So it's saying one h1, one h2 tag, total of 1 h1 tag, 1 2 3 h2 tags, and 40, 50 and 100 length. Oh my god, I just went with 40. Okay, leave it. But you know, right, for if I go with lorem 40, it will go at 40 word length, lorem 50 with a 50 word length, and lorem 100 for 100 word length. And let's refresh this one. So this is what I wanted normally, but now you have this one. So let's go out. This is that it looks bad, obviously, because I haven't added any styles to it, but only if I add styles then only it will be good, right? So I wanted to add few styles. The first thing is, let's start by learning few styles. Introducing the basic CSS. It's not all the CSS concepts that I'm being explaining at the moment. I'm just explaining few basic CSS concepts that will be interesting to learn. The first thing is, you know that the body tag is responsible for the page. If you want to display any content onto the website, then the tag should be within the body itself. If it is not within the body, then it means that it is not being displayed onto the page. And this body, whatever is there over here, that is the only thing that is being seen on the website. So practically from here to here, it's the website itself, it's a whole website itself. And now if I want to apply background color to this page, see, my background color over here is white, but if I want to apply the background color for this page, then I need to apply styles for the body tag. Why? Because the body is responsible to be the output of the page. If I apply the color tag for this body, then only I will get a proper background color. Let's try to look at the point what I'm trying to explain. So there is something called as a style tag. You know that we are adding styles for these elements, whatever elements that we are writing over here. So in order to write a style, you need to type style in the head section, because I explained in one slide that, let's go back. Head section. Head section, anything related to configuration or styles or whatever it is, that whatever it is has been written over here. Yes, over here, the styles configuration, the JavaScript configuration, metadata information, all these title tags, everything are there in the head section. So one among those things is the styles configuration. So we are trying to add a style. Where is that one? The one which we are doing. Okay, so we are trying to add a style to the whole website. So click on style, tab button, and whatever you write within this will be the style effects. So I'm saying that for the tag called body, I will open and close the braces over here. I'll say that I want the background color of my body tag to be, for example, light salmon color. I will type background. See, this is the more advantage feature and functionality of these kind of things. That's why I said this is like a PUBG, and whereas the Notepad++ is not, it's like a Free Fire. I'm sorry for comparing it again with the PUBG, but still, you don't have all these things, right? You don't need to remember these many properties, man. Come on, why will you remember all these things? Obviously you don't need to remember these things. You just know that there is an attribute background color and what color you want to choose. There are so many colors. Let's go with the coral. Okay, let's go with coral. Save the file. See, you don't need to type anything. I just typed over here back. I said back and it gave me background color. It also gave me what color I wanted to print. I selected this. That's it. I didn't type anything. It automatically filled everything for me. That's easy thing for me, right? So I'm saying that within the style tag, I said I want my body to have its background color coral. So let's refresh it. There you go. It's coral in color. It's up to you what thing you want to display and so on. So now that you know it's coral in color, I want to change the font. Let's change the font for now, or else let me look at the slide what I am trying to explain, because if I explain everything before itself, see, it's just written that to change the background color alone. So I'll just change the background color, it's done. So any other configurations you want to do, then you can only do within the style tag itself. I'm just explaining the basic CSS concept. It's not the advanced concept, but it is still the basic concept, though you need to know about these things. Now that you know how to add a CSS, we will jump deeper into the course and discover more of these things. So do you have any queries so far? Because this, from today on, the sessions will be really big. You can pause at any moment, you can take break at any moment. Even I'm planning to take break soon. So if at all, that's the reason I'm saying that I'm just explaining 4 tags. So let's hope that there is no more queries for now, and I will jump on to the next slide. So all these things in the CSS, they are designed in such a way that this is the selector and this is the value of the selector. Don't worry about these things because we are not learning CSS at the moment, we are just learning the HTML tag. Just know that for the body, if you want to add a background color, you can add it in this way, that's it. And you can only add it if it is within the style open and close tag. If it is not between these two things, then it will be some other thing. See, it will not even recognize the color is being changed back to white, right? That's what you need to know, that if there is no style tag, then you cannot add a styles to that page itself. So now that you know about this, let's go on to the next slide. So you don't need to memorize what property does, what does changes it does, or everything will be there online, or you can either look at the proper editors like this with the ID which I'm using right now. If you choose something like this, they will actually help you to do all these things. Okay, this technique, just know the name of the technique, don't remember the technique. Once we learn the CSS, we will learn the name of the technique as well. The technique name is internal CSS. The name is called as internal CSS is because the style which are whatever you're writing in between this tag is only applicable to the page called HTML underscore paragraph. For example, if I open the HTML underscore heading which I created earlier, if I open that in a browser, you don't see the background color over here, but you just see the HTML paragraphs alone. It's because you have written the code in such a way that that is internally written. So if it is written just in the style tag, just between the style tag, it means that it is internally linked, and it's an internal CSS style. So let's discuss about the other concept. It is called as, let's try to change the font style. So how do you change the font style? If you want to perform, see, we know that whatever information is there within the body, that is being displayed onto the web page. So whatever information we do, whatever changes we do to the body is applicable to all the things that are in that page itself. So now that's being said, I wanted to add a different font family. See, the family, the font style over here is like this. It's so basic. I want to add an advanced concept. So I want to add Arial sans serif. So what I do is I click on enter, font, just type font, and you see there are a lot of properties over here. I want a font family, and you see a lot of things. The font is, the syntax of this font is of 2 types. This is the name of the font, and this is the family it belongs to. So this is the font and this is the family. Refresh it and you can see that whole font has been changed on the website. It's just because of this one. I'm changing it, I'm applying the styles to the body. It means that if I am applying styles to the body, it means it is applying to all the elements that is within the body. But if you don't want that style to be applied to this heading tag, then what you need to do, we will look at that later on, because I need to follow the slides. I'm jumping up and down. So you know that the font is being divided into font name and font family name by now. Let's go on to the next thing. Queries. Yes, it's time for the queries, guys. If you have any queries, then please do let me know. Do not hesitate to ask me queries, because these things are the basic concepts that you need to know earlier itself. On the earlier stage, if you get clarified about these topics, then it will be easy for us to go on to the next stage. If you have any queries, then please do let me know. And if you don't have any queries, then that's awesome. I guess there are no more queries. That's amazing. That's good to know that there are no queries so far. I'll go on to the next slide. So which tag are we using for HTML, CSS and JavaScript? Okay, it's like the questionnaire. Sorry for the putting this one over here. With this slide we will add a lot of styles, and please make sure you understand the way I'm writing the styles over there, because it's easy to understand once you know the basic concepts. So here you can see that I'm having a combination of heading, paragraph, heading, paragraph, and so on, right? This full stack development course is being displayed onto the website using a tag called h1, obviously, right? And what about this HTML, what about this CSS and JavaScript? By using which tag are we displaying onto the web page? We are displaying that using the h2 tag. It's because the size is a bit smaller compared to the main concept course. And then using which tag are we displaying the information paragraph onto the screen? We are displaying with the help of a paragraph tag. Now that you know which tag we use in order to display the particular information, respective information onto the screen, so here the first thing is, we are saying that let's add a background color to just those three words, just to this HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Our first mission is to add background color for these things. Okay, let's add background colors. How can you add background colors? See here, I wrote the tag name and also the styles associated with the tag name. So I copy the same way. So I displayed the HTML, CSS and JavaScript using a tag called h2. So I'll write h2 for all the h2 in the website. So what's my first mission? My first mission is to add the background color. So let's add the background color. I want the background color a lot of colors, right? Let's go with the darker color, so that I can implement a new concept again. I can explain you the other concept as well. Let's refresh it, and you can see that the background color has been applied to just the tags that are having h2 only. See, I said that whatever tags that are being displayed onto the website, whatever tag is being displayed using h2, for that tag alone I want the background color to be maroon. So I displayed HTML using h2, I displayed CSS using h2, and I displayed JavaScript using h2. I didn't write any separate things for all these three things. What I wanted was, I wanted a single background color, but that should be same for all the headings. So that's the reason I said for all the headings, all the tags, h2 tags, I need a background color to be maroon. And you see, it's very bad. It's really bad. But if the HTML color is white, if the CSS color is white, if JavaScript word color is white, it might look good, right? It might look good in such a way. So what we do is, background color is for the background color for that element. For the font color, you don't have anything called font color, but instead you have color. So what do you want the color to be? Let's go with white. Save it refresh it, and you see the color has been changed. Right, now it's good, it's really good. Okay, let's try to change the font color. The font color has been changed, but there is some other concept that I need to explain you guys. Let's zoom it. Oh, too much zoom in. Okay, now if you see, I have zoomed it off around 400 times, again 400x. You can see that there is no proper spacing between outside the HTML. Within this box and outside this font, there is a very less gap, but I want a little bit gap so that it looks properly for me. That is called as a padding. Padding is nothing but the gap between the box and the font. So whatever gap you want within the box, it is called as padding. Let's go. Let's say I want the padding to be 10 pixels. Save it, refresh it, and you see there is a gap now. And let's zoom out, and it's being applied to all these things. Why? Because this is applied to all the elements that are being displayed onto the website using the h2 tag. I'm applying the same properties to all these three things. That's why it's being applied to all these three things. So HTML, CSS and JavaScript are now having a proper spacing inside the box. Let's see the next mission. It's called box shadow. See, these things are like looking basic, but what if I give a 3D look? How can you give a 3D look? Just by dropping up a shadow. Simple, right? So let's add a shadow for these heading backgrounds. So there is something called box shadow. For the box which you are doing, there is something called box shadow. 0 0 10 pixels, and I want a black shadow. Let me show you the output. See, now you can see that there is a small shadow that is being dropped by, and it's easy, right? It's good compared to that which was before. It's good because there is some shadow effect behind it. And what a box shadow is, it's like, it's this is a x-axis, this is y-axis. It tells that if you want to print in an angle, for example 45, oops, see, the shadow has been moved in a 45 degrees along the x-axis. That's why you see the shadow is coming right side of the screen. If you want that to be, let's leave it as 0, and if I want the shadow to be dropped like 10 pixels for the y-axis, refresh it. See, the shadow is dropping downwards. But if you don't want the shadow to drop downwards, left side, right side, on the top side, what you can do is you can just leave it as 0 itself, and you can see that the width of my shadow should be 10 pixels. Then that's it. It's a simple thing to be displayed onto the screen. Now that you know how to display the background color, the color of the font, display the drop the shadow, we will try one more technique, I guess. Yes, it's called as a border radius. Border radius is nothing but, see, it is rectangle in shape, but what if I want a rounded borders? Simple, go with border hyphen radius. How much you want the border radius to be? For example, let's go with 20 pixels. Save it, refresh it, and you see rounded borders. If you want a proper circle, then go with the 50 pixels. Good, right? You get a rounded borders. So these are the properties that are there. It's like the basic properties that we'll use, so that you know whatever application or whatever concept which we learn from now on, we'll try to add these basic styles. So make sure you remember these things. Background color, as the name states, it provides a background of the color. The color is nothing but the font color. The padding is nothing but the space inside the box. The box shadow is nothing but it adds a small shadow depending upon how much you want it to move the x-axis, y-axis, and this is the radius of the shadow along with which color you want the shadow to be. If the background is black in color and if you want a shadow of white, then go with white. For example, if I don't want black, what I do is which will be easily seen. Okay, let's go with gold. Even if it's worst, see, you get some color. Oh my god, that looks dangerous. Let's go with the black itself. But just assume that the box shadow is to drop a shadow. Don't go with those foolish things. It might ruin your website UI. I know this color is really bad, but still, just to provide the concept, I'm just providing with the worst colors possible so that it could give a proper example. And the border radius is to determine this border circle. So if you want an image to be displayed and the border to be in a circle, then use this property called border radius. If you want to display a 3D photo with a proper shadow behind it, go with the box shadow. And if you want to create some space between the image and the box outside it, then go with the padding. Same as it is, if you want to add a background color to the photo, then add a background color, and depending upon which color you want, choose the color name. So this is the basic CSS concepts that we will be learning, so that we apply these concepts to all the things which we learn. So now that we have completed this part, do you guys have any queries? Because I have really covered a lot of concepts, and these concepts do take a lot of time to memorize, because once only if you understand what these things are for. The background color is for background color, the color is for the font color, the border radius is for the radius of the borders. As the name states, it's the same thing. The name tells us a border radius, then its functionality is for the radius of the border. If it tells a box shadow, it means it's dropping a shadow for the box. So I guess so far there is no queries. Assuming it as there are no more queries, I will jump on to the next topic. So far what we learned is the heading tag, paragraph tag, how to add the colors, how to add a font, how to change the font. You saw here, right? In the body tag we change the font over here. What if I don't want this? There you see, the font has been changed. It's up to you what font you want to change and what it is. It's just that these fonts are commonly found in the, what do we say, in Microsoft Word. I get to know about these fonts, so it's easy to memorize those fonts name. But if you want a particular font, then we will look about that in later. The third tag, so out of the 4 tags we just learned HTML, we just learned the heading tags and the paragraph tags. Now we'll learn about the division tags. Yes, so the division tag, as the name suggests, it divides the page into parts. For example, let's go with the paint again. I hope it's open. So if I have the page and I divide into few parts, saying that this is one division, this is second division, this is third division, and I want these 3 divisions to have its own okay, I'll go with the live example which will demonstrate right now. We'll demonstrate this thing right now, so it will be easy for us to understand what this is. So this is our website for now, okay, plain and white. What I want here is, we implemented the concept of heading and a paragraph, heading and a paragraph, heading and a paragraph, right? We implemented this thing, and what we saw as the output is this, which is really bad. But what if I want this thing, this whole thing to be of one part, this whole thing oops, this whole thing to be the second part, and this whole thing to be as a sub another part. What if I want like this? For example, it's there's the control Z. Okay, oh shit, man. Let's take this one. Let's assume this is our background color, and I want the background color for heading for the HTML and CSS to be blue. I want this to be pink, for example. I want this to be green. What if I want the output like this? How do I do it? If I try to change the background color for this, it changes background color for everything. See, why I'm saying is that all the clients will not come with the same mindset that I want to develop a website which is having same background color, but some will say that I want this particular section to have separate color compared to this section, so that if I have a good differentiation, then they will understand that okay, this thing is separate from that. So in order to differentiate it, we do in such a way. So what we do is we want the output to be like this. How can you do this? So here comes the division. What this division tag will do is whatever things that you include within this division tag is considered as one separate component. So component as in, let's go with the slides itself because everything has been explained here. Okay, let's take the previous example. I want the whole HTML content to be in one box, the whole CSS content to be in another box, and whole JavaScript content in another box. So let's start doing that from scratch. And where we can do that from scratch, let's open the WebStorm, let's open the project structure, click on the div tag, close these two things, and okay, let's start working. So as the name suggests, the div tag is being represented with the name called div. So how can you say that, how can you club one heading and one paragraph within the div tag? This will be your first question, right? You said that I'm clubbing one HTML heading and one HTML paragraph as a heading, one particular component. If you want to club those two things, you open and close a div tag and you write a heading over here, you write a paragraph over here, you save it, open up in the browser, and you see, yes, I do understand that you don't see any difference of mentioning a div tag. Okay, let's go add the background color. I want the background color to be coral. Yes, even now you don't find any difference. Okay, I know that I'm using something called as a div tag. So what I do is, that's a tag, right? So for div, I will write that I want my background color for this div tag to be blue, as this is my first thing, right? Let's go with aqua. Aqua is good. It's like the same color which is over here. Refresh it and you see, you get a proper thing. Yes, and if you want to remove the extra space, I will make sure I'll explain that part as well, because everything on the website is customizable. Everything is customizable, everything can be done easily. So now that I got this thing, let's create another div tag. Just by that, again h2 tab and say CSS, and I create a paragraph with the lorem 40 again, save it and refresh it. You see, I'm getting a CSS with the same blue background color. It's because I'm telling over here, I'm telling to this style tag over here that all the things that are inside this div should have a background color of aqua. So no matter how many times you write a div, if the div is even empty, we need to mention something, right, mention h2 and sample text. So it's still having a background color, but you cannot change it, so only if you want to change it, there is a third method to add a style to this one. Sorry, second method, because we haven't discussed css concept so far. This is one way of implementing a color, implementing a style. There is a second way to implement a style, that is just writing over here itself. So what it is, here you said that you used a tag called style, but here the attribute will be style. You say for this division I want my style to have a background color that is aqua. Okay, let me remove this one. Let me save this file. So only this division is having a background color aqua. Let me refresh it, and you can see over here that only that division is having aqua, because I said that I need the background color to be aqua from this division starting point to this division ending point. So whatever is there within these two things will have that style applied to it. So if I want the second color to be, let's look the pink color which we saw over there. Let's hope there is a pink color. Wow, it's too dangerous. Some random color so that there will be some difference. And let's go with the third color. And okay, let's copy the same thing and paste it over here with the background color as, what is this one, a green. Hey, what's this? Yes, I'll get back to that point. We will discuss about these topics regarding the priority wise and all these things once we start the CSS concept. Just what I'm doing right at the moment is that I just explained few basic CSS styles, and I'm trying to implement those basic CSS styles with the HTML tags that we are going to learn. So once we start the CSS concept, then I will explain about the priority wise, which one will execute first and what will be executed next. So this is what is called as a division, but you can see that there is no space, right? I want a space. So what I say is that for all these three things there is no space, so there is a common property. It's just because the background color for this division is different compared to all the other division tags, I wrote in this way. But if you want to apply a same common property, then it's better to write it over here than mentioning it over there in that tag. So I say that for all the division tags I want the padding 10 pixels. Let me refresh it. Oh, you see there is no space between the HTML and CSS and JavaScript. It's like it's stuck together. So now comes the another concept called as margin. Margin is nothing but the gap outside of this box. It's not inside the box, it's outside the box. Now outside the box I want a margin, so it says, for example, I want a margin of 10 pixels. Let's refresh. Now you see you got a spacing over here as well. So that means that the space outside the box is considered as margin and the space inside the box is considered as a padding. So we get to implement the basic things like if you want that to have a rounded border. Oh, so it's not rounded border, right? Border radius to be of 20 pixels. Refresh the page. Nice. I want a box shadow of 10 pixels black. Refresh it. Nice. So you got a proper structure over here rather than just printing out a simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript black and white style. Now you can see over here that you are printing it in a proper way. It's like a somewhat a 3D effect has been added over here. Now that we have implemented the same thing over here, that's amazing, right? With just the basic concepts that we did from the scratch. So we created a HTML, we created a paragraph, we created a separate division, we checked the output, and we also tried to add the properties that we learned before, the styles, the effects. So now that this is done, do you guys have any queries? So yes, regarding the shadow, the box shadow over here, this command. So the first one is nothing but the x-axis wise, the second one is nothing but y-axis, the third thing over here is what should be the radius, and the fourth one will be the color of shadow, which one you want to drop. For example, if I want the shadow to be on the y-axis, if I want it downwards, then I'll go like 10 pixels. I want it as a downwards. Let me refresh it. See, the shadow is coming below, right? If I want it on the downside, on also on the right side, bottom right, so I'll go with 10 pixels here as well and refresh it. So this is how the shadow works. So it depends upon x and y axis. If you don't provide any axis, then the shadow will be beneath the box itself at the 0 location. So depending upon what type of shadow you want and how much radius you want, what color you want, it's up to you to display it. So box shadow you can also print out in another way, but I will make sure to cover that topic once I cover the CSS. Until then, let's go on with the next topic. If you guys have any other doubts, then please do let me know and I'll be happy to help you sort all those things at the moment itself. So assuming that there are no more doubts, we will understand. See, I already skipped this slide, I'm sorry. We added the background colors for these things, right? So this is what we try to do. We try to add background colors, we try to add different background colors. It's done. So yes, this way of writing a CSS code is called as inline CSS. Don't worry about the name wise, that's the main reason why I'm not concentrating on the name so far. Once we cover the CSS topics, we will then go with that one. So this is called as internal CSS style and this is called as inline CSS style. So make sure you know you have understood two different ways of styling. So style can be added to that element either in internal way or inline way. There is another way that will be explained once we start the main projects. So let's go on how to write. See how to write an inline CSS that I have already explained in the video. So what I'll do is I'll upload these presentations onto the slide onto the drive, and I will provide a link in the description so that if you want to have a look at these presentations, you can have a look at them at any time you need. In this course, will you be teaching React? So what I'm planning to do is that for now, what I'll do is I will just cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, MongoDB, Node.js, Express.js. So what I want to convey is that once only if you are familiar with these basic things, then you can learn Angular and React. It's easy to learn Angular and React only if you understand these basic concepts. So if you try to know how to display these things on the screen, we will then go with the React. I will also cover the Angular and React only once we complete this fast track course, which is of 4 months duration. It's a worst case scenario, but let's make sure we complete this fast track course within 3 months of time. And after we complete this course, what we'll do is we'll jump to the Angular and React. We'll try to manage these two things side by side, or we try to implement one after other depending upon the time frame that is available for me. Thanks for asking that question. So now that you know about margin as well, what we'll do is we'll skip this slide. How to add margin, you know. So always remember this: the space inside the box is considered as padding and the space outside the box is considered as margin. Don't ever get confused within these two things, because if you are confused, then that might be a problem when I will be streaming. The main reason I started my live streaming today at 4:30 because there was a power issue yesterday. The current came and went off at 6 p.m. So I thought it would be better if I start at 4:30. But let's see what happens from tomorrow on. We'll fix a proper time depending upon the power issues. Let's go with the 4:30 for few months time. Down the lane, if that's not going to work for me, then I'll go and shift to the other timing. But whenever I do that, I'll make sure I'll let you know in the previous class itself, so that you don't get to miss the next live. Yes, so far we learnt about these three tags. One is the heading tag, the second one is the paragraph tag, and the third one is the div tag. So we will cover one last tag, which is nothing but span tag. Span tag is an interesting tag. See, whenever we try to add a color, so for example, what can we do? Okay, if I want to change the color, okay, let's go and open the new tab, new thing itself. So this is the span file. So file number 4, whenever you're working on this file, open the file number 4, this one. So let's open this in the browser. It's empty thing, that's good. So what is a span tag? Let me try to print out the word jobless developer onto the screen. And if I want to add different color, so what I say, I go with the technique that I learned just now. I want the color to be red. Refresh it, and there you go, you get a red color jobless developer. Now I want to add a blue color. What I do is I just go say blue. So refresh it, you get it blue. But what if I want jobless to be red and developer to be blue? Okay, there might be something different, right? So what if I write something like a style tag here and say for all the h1 tags I need to have a background, just the color, right? Color to be red, and refresh it. What's the priority being taken up? The inline priority will be there if there is any internal tag. So I guess this has solved your query. The internal will have the second property compared to the inline tag. Inline tag will say that okay, it's alright, whatever things you have mentioned about the style, that's okay, but for this I want it particularly to be blue, and it's not having any impact. If I remove this one and if I refresh it, it's coming red color. But what if I want jobless to be red and developer to be blue? One such thing what people say is that I create a h1 tag saying jobless. I'll create another h1 tag telling developer, and I will go with the style red, blue. Now that you know, you are saying that if I do something like this, it might work. Let's refresh it and see that it's considered as two heading tags, but it's not in the same line. Okay, you might be saying that it's the code has been written on the next line, so that's the reason it's being printed. Let's write on the same line and refresh it. No difference, because each heading tag, you see that the each word, the each word which you write, or the group of words that you write between these tags, only for whole words or the group of words, this style will be allocated to that one. It means that this style will be applied to all the words or just a single word which is within this h1 tag. But if you are having two different words and if you want two different properties, then what you can do, you cannot use a division tag over here. You can use a division tag and create two separate headings. So it's like you can create give me a moment. What's happening? Okay, so if you are saying that this is my division tag and I want one heading as a jobless to be here, I want another jobless to be here, that's of no use. You need to add a css for that, saying that one should be on the left side of the page and other should be right side of the page or something like that. All the heading tags will be added between below this. So it's like if you add another h1 tag, it's like this. If you add another h1 tag, it will be below itself, it will not go left and right. But if you want to add a left and right thing, then there is something called as a span tag. The span tag is there to apply the styles for a particular word or a character or a group of words. We can use the styling techniques. So it's saying that using inline css we tried to add a red color, but we didn't see any color change, or if even if we saw the color change, the whole jobless developer is changing its color. There is no differentiate between one jobless word and developer word. There is no difference in color. So what we can do is, we tried the first technique, that is writing two different headings with two different inline css colors, but we saw that the words are placed one below another. That is not the one which we are expecting. So the next thing which we thought about is, we'll create a division and write two headings one below another. Let's hope that works, but that doesn't work because each heading tag is considered as one whole thing. For example, if you write this one, if you give a background color, to be red, to be blue, you refresh this one and see that whenever you try to apply it, this heading tag is covering the whole page. It's not just covering until the word itself. So the heading covers the whole page. This is the main thing that you need to understand by this example, that the heading covers the whole page. That's the reason you cannot add one heading beside another heading. But what if you want it to happen like that? So the next thing what we do is, let's add a span tag. So how can you add a span tag? You're saying that, let's remove the whole thing. You say I want a h1 with the word as jobless developer, and I want jobless to be a separate word and developer to be separate word. So I'll say span. I want first word to be jobless, and I'll write span developer to be separate, and I add colors to this one because I say style color red. Blue. You see, the jobless developer is on the same page, I mean on the same line, but it is having two different colors. This is the simple way to differentiate between these things. So let's take the same thing into consideration, I guess. See, this so jobless in one span tag and developer in another span tag, and you can see the magic happening, right? With this concept being explained, the span tag, do you have any queries so far? Because I just would like to answer if there is any other queries. If there is no queries, then let's do one last example and let's conclude the topic for today, because it's already been more than 2 hours since I was live. So yes, if you guys have any doubts, then please feel free to ask me at any moment from now on, because I'm been concluding this topic. So the next final thing that we are going to do for today is we'll just try to do with character wise. When you okay, great. And thanks for your valuable comments. Yes, let's try to let's try to print out the word developer itself, but word by word let's make it a different color. So span D. So we know, right, for what do we say, for duplicating the page, or sorry, for duplicating the line, will you be uploading the code to GitHub? What I'll do is that the files whatever I'm writing the code, uh, I'll create a zip file, I'll upload it onto my drive, and once look at my first video, there I mentioned how to download the code and where you can download it, all these things, this file structure, folder structure, you don't need to create them by yourself. So let's create developer. So press on Ctrl D, developer. Even if it is having so many span, it still is one word, but even though you can see the gaps over here, yes, I want the developer to have different colors, style color blue. See, I'm not even typing a single word, I'm just moving my arrows. That's the advantage of IDE. No, too many enters. Save it, refresh it, and you see, that's what. So with this we can actually conclude by saying that not even just for a word, but for even individual character, using the span tag you can actually add colors. So it's as easy as it is. If you just understand the concept, it's easy for us to implement it in this way. So let's add the background color. Okay, so let's I guess I will stop over here. I'll make sure you guys follow this one, add a background color for this. Nothing, it's easy, right? Or else I'll do that for you, because it's the first class, and giving you guys assignment from first class will be a bad tutoring. So I'll give assignments, but a very lengthy assignments from next class on. Yes, all those things will be taught when we learn the CSS. Now we don't do that one, because if I teach that one it will be too complicated. I'm just explaining the concept of span, that it actually divides within the word, but adding the style effects, all these things, all the movements, reducing the space, everything comes under the attributes. So all these attributes will be explained once we start the additional CSS, advanced CSS. So what do you say for the H1? I wanted the background color, right? Oh, sorry, this is not the, for HTML I want the background color. I used almost every color, right? Okay, dim gray. Okay, the second concept, let's add padding. It's up to you, but here I'm adding 10 pixels. So the gap has been increased. So it's up to you which color you choose. See, the UI which I developed right now, it's very bad. I mark myself 0 for this, but you need to be creative whenever you develop these things. Let's add margin. Okay, the only reason I'm going faster, because it will be easy for you guys to understand these things, because you already saw how to use those things. I don't need to explain them again. So I'm saying box shadow, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, again 10 pixels, and I want black. I want let's go with the dim gray itself. See, every time I do, I'm just refreshing it. It's a very sad thing, but once we learn about the live server, as soon as I refresh the file, as soon as I save the file, it will refresh it automatically. Let's add the rounded borders. So rounded borders can be added using border radius. Let's go with 20 pixels. It's enough for now. Refresh it, and you see you get a border radius. Oops. The style, the font style to be comic. Okay, so okay, even if it is a H1, it's the only element that is being used in my whole website. So I'll say font family, comic sans serif, sans serif. It is the name of the font, and this is the family name of the font. So this is what I explained earlier. The text has been changed, and what else? Let's make the jobless word in center. So this is the another CSS concept that we are learning right now. If you want to align the text to be at the center, so aligning the text, then as the name describes, align the text. So there is one property called as text align, where I want that to be at the center. So I'm saying that I want this text to be at the center, and there you go, the text is at the center. It's as easy as it, right? So all the property tags that are defined by the developers of HTML or the CSS are designed in such a way that just by looking at the property name you can understand what it is for. So here it is to align the text at the center. So I read the text align, and I said that I want to be at the center. But if I want that to be at the right, I go and type it right and refresh the page. It goes on right side. But I want it at the center, so let's go with center. Easy, right? Easy to understand this one. Yes. Do you have any other queries? But let me come back to that slide later on. If you have any queries, then please don't hesitate to type it in the comment section. I will be able to explain it right the moment itself. It's because there are less than 10 viewers at the moment. That's the only reason that I can easily help you guys on the live itself. So far we learned what a heading tag is and what are the different types of heading tags available, that is h1 to h6, and what is a paragraph tag, what is a division tag, what is a span tag. Along with these things we learned what a background color is, how to add a background color, how to change the color of the font, how to change the style of the font, how to add the shadows, how to add the radius of the borders, how to add a gap between inside the box, how to add a gap outside the box, and so on. See, these are the many concepts which we learned today. It's like around 10 to 15 concepts, I guess. Please try to look at this video once again. If you have any queries, then tomorrow I'll be coming live at 4:30. So if you have any queries, let's assume you will have some, and I'll come live at 4:15. So from 4:15 to 4:30 I will be solving all your queries, whatever it is. If you have a problem in doing all the setup files, I will help you out with that one as well. Don't worry about the course content, and the coverage of all the topics will be handled by me. I will take care of all those things. Just what you need to do is complete dedication and practice it properly. Once you practice it in a good way, you understand the topics. Don't mug up the properties, don't mug up the softwares, don't mug up the technology. Just remember in such a way that there is an element that is there to print this particular things onto the screen. So if you are watching something, so if you are looking at some element onto the screen, you can only look at that one only if there is some tag associated with it. If there is no tag, then how the hell are the website developers are displaying onto the screen? Obvious, right? So everything has its own tag. It's okay, it's good to know that there is a tag associated to display something onto the screen, but it's very bad to remember everything, because remembering everything will make you confused at one moment to use what and what not. So just remember the concepts, just know that these concepts exist, but don't by heart them. So thanks for joining today's video, guys. I hope you guys like the video. If you want to provide if you like the video, please go click the like button. If you didn't like the video, then please don't hesitate to click the dislike button, so that I can get a valuable feedback, and depending upon that feedback, it will be helpful for me to improve in the future videos. And um, 1 hour from now on, I will upload the files onto a drive and share the drive link in the description as well. If you actually want to have a look at the drive link, then you can go and download, but I personally suggest you guys not to download these files. I suggest you guys to work on your own, because we have just started today. We are not into deeply into the classes, which is being confused and all. I hope you liked the today's video. I had a wonderful time explaining you guys all the concepts, even though if it's just the 4 concepts that we learned, but we had experienced a lot of things. Thank you for joining today's video, guys. I hope you had a great time, and let's meet again tomorrow at 4:15. So from tomorrow on, I'll be online at 4:15. So if you have any queries, try to practice it tonight. And if you have any queries, then please come by tomorrow at 4:15. And from 4:15 to 4:30, I'll be explaining all those things. Thank you. Have a nice day.